Get out of it. Just tell us where to go.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Meet direction.
Village Board of Trustees meeting of Tuesday, September 9th, 2025 at 7:30 PM. Call to order.
Before we begin, I want to make all attendees aware that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the village's YouTube channel within the next 2 working days. Please be mindful of individual privacy and avoid sharing any personal or sensitive information that may not be appropriate for online distribution. You please stay here when I call your name to indicate your presence. Laura Peck. Lily Bickers.
Here.
Christine Yeager.
Here.
Mike Woodweiler.
Here.
Greg Engel.
Here.
Kevin O'Driscoll.
Here.
Jim Schuler.
Here.
Have a quorum.
Approval of agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Citizen comments on any subject not on agenda. Hearing none, discuss and take action on the village board minutes dated August 12th, 2025. Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's discuss and take action on strategic planning process and scope of services proposal from Mark Roffers.
So as you all know from last month, we have been tasked to get a proposal from Mark Roppers regarding assisting us with a strategic plan moving into the end of this year and into 2026. In your packet, we have a cover sheet followed by Mark's scope of work. In thinking this through, we also were fortunate enough to I reached out to George Brown, who's here this evening. And George has offered to also support us in this process as a former trustee and a resident and a strategic planning consultant as well. So spoke with Mark, Sarah, and George. And we think we have a generally good plan to collaborate together and find some mutually beneficial outcomes for the village. As you see tonight, there isn't much detail on what the plan will include and what it will mean for work as far as the board is concerned outside of Mark's scope of work. But we do have a cost estimate that we would need support from the board in order to move forward from this point. Mark, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Would be happy to work with you. I'm not the expert that George is on strategic planning, but I've been a planner for 33 years. So excited for the collaboration, the opportunity to work with George, with the team that our quote unquote core team as described in the proposal. The other thing I'll just add is it's an important project. It's a lot to carry out in a relatively short period of time. So with the goal of getting something completed by spring to help you inform your decision-making for the fall. So I'm happy to answer questions on the scope, what we included, what we didn't, public involvements, and sort of the other components of that scope of work.
Yeah, we've probably done more surveys and research in the last 2 years than we've done in the prior 20 or 25. So, and Mark was integral in designing those surveys and compiling them. I hope part of the plan is not reinventing those. We got a lot of good data and I don't think it's been outdated, but we should certainly start with that and figure out what might have changed, what needs to be filled in.
Yeah, we don't want to ask the same questions that we just asked people.
Right.
Absolutely.
But in between the research we did for the referendum and the surveys and for the zoning revisions.
Right.
There's a lot of good stuff in there.
That's correct.
I think the proposal looks great. Thanks a lot, George, for stepping up. You're the right guy for this. And I don't think you need to, I'm encouraged that you're going to consult with committees and other trustees. I don't think you need to meet with planning. You know what's been going on there. I mean, we've had plenty of meetings.
First time Jim's ever said that.
Yeah. So no need to be redundant about that.
Well, we certainly don't want to miss anyone, and we certainly don't want to assume we know what any group thinks.
What's your strategy, Mark, for engagement with community members? What's your best practice there?
Well, we're gonna reactivate the project web, or we're gonna create a project web page for the thing early on. We'll brainstorm on other appropriate strategies and outreach during our initial core team meeting throughout the process beyond that. We have two specific opportunities to not be redundant, but survey the community first on broad values, and then secondly, to test potential priorities during the course of the process. And then we have, as Jim suggested, an opportunity to kind of have stakeholder groups meetings and also interviews during the course of the process with folks that are interested. Well, if we miss people, they will have the opportunity through our communication program to be involved at village board meetings or by communicating directly with our core team.
George, thank you very much for your offer to help, and I'm very comforted, is one word, that you're involved, so thank you. Your perspective of the proposal?
I think it's excellent. I think he's selling himself cheap, but it's excellent. I would have charged probably 40% more.
Thank you, George.
Be honest with you. The process is, I think, a good one. The research is necessary. The outreach is necessary. I mean, one of the things that I always say organization, because that's what I usually do my work with. This community does not have a mission visions, doesn't have priorities. Those are all stuff that needs to be done first before we get into the hard part of the plan. And the actions of this board, the engagement of this board is critical. But also has to remember that what you are a broad oversight board. And you don't need to get into the details of, what's going to happen on Tuesday. So.
Craig, does a proposal, you brought this up first. What's your perspective, please?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good proposal. I think the cost wise seems reasonable for what the deliverables are. I like the overall vision of the scope. I mean, I have some questions and thoughts about some specifics. I don't know if we're gonna get into specifics here tonight or if we're just looking at kind of the broad overview. But I think it kind of, I think the way it's broadly laid out, I think it's gonna get us what we need.
Greg, I definitely think there's room for adjustments when we get started. We'll want to come back and talk with you about our more specific game plan very soon. If you, on the flip side, if you feel like I don't think we should do a survey or 2 surveys, we should do no surveys, or I think you should do something, that's bigger, that affects sort of the overall flavor of the scope, then that would be something to talk about now.
Yeah, I mean, so like I was thinking like 2 surveys seems a lot. I was thinking 1 would do, but I can understand the argument for 2. And then as far as like the stakeholder meetings, I would like to see some like outreach to, like, they look like they're focused on specific groups that we would say, we want you to do a stakeholder meeting with this committee or with the country club, or like opportunities for residents, focus groups of just residents. And try to find a strategy to try to get voices who might not otherwise, be like, try to figure out a strategy to try to identify some of those residents who we don't hear from very much. And to try to get a broad base of, people who live on the Sherman part of, Maple Bluff versus Upper Bluff, and just try to get a diverse group of voices, country club members, non-country club members, people with younger demographics with children, older folks, and make sure we're covering a broad base of the residents. So that would be part of that, and make that part of that stakeholder outreach strategy. But so those are just kind of a couple of the thoughts I had.
I think those all fall within the scope that we can kind of play with over the course of the next month or two.
I liked there was a note in there about reaching out to City of Madison. I thought that was interesting. And I thought maybe even like the north side, like trying to get some north side community input, north side planning council, I think I don't know if there's other stakeholder groups. I mean, our fortunes are so intertwined with the north side here, and I think that's something that would be good for us to try to do some outreach there, but those are just some initial thoughts. One question I had, so would you be paid on this?
No.
You're just a volunteer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if you, the price would be double, then they say, what that?
Thank you, Edward, yeah.
As Mark said, this is, an evolving process. I mean, the structures there generally, but I have never been involved in a strategic planning process where something did move in the meantime. Whether new things came up, things that had been planned are no longer necessary. So it's a moving process, and that's why your engagement is necessary as well as the core team. So.
Questions from our attorneys on the board? Comments?
I thought it was a great, proposal. I like the different, components of, listening and getting perspectives. I agree with Greg that if we can reach out and make sure that we're getting a diverse, set of voices, that would be a good thing, but you can lead the horse to water, but so, yeah, I don't have much to add.
Thank you.
I think just like the input we got on zoning, whatever we can do to educate people, to keep them realistic about what the village does and doesn't do. You know, if the priority is solve peace in the Middle East or something like that, we'll all say, well, the village can't do anything. The city of Madison can, but we can't.
I think it should be a nuclear free.
But it's just, I don't know how you open the eyes to everybody of what are the different functions of the village, what staff responsibilities are, how our budget's broken down. I know all that information is available on the website, but I sometimes, I think you did, if I recall, the zoning survey had kind of like an intro that kind of led into it with some background. When
Right.
people got it, or if that was a mailing, I can't remember what it was, but it kind of provided a framework before you answered the questions.
Right. Well, I will say a lot of the work that went into the referendum prep is right along what you just said, Mike.
Okay,
What do we do as a village? What are the functions? Where are we now?
that's true. Yeah, those referendum materials probably have a lot of good background.
And those will feed right into the priorities question.
So are we asking residents to prioritize things, or are we asking their level of satisfaction with different services that the village provides, and we determine priorities based on their reactions to that? Or is that too in the weeds for now?
No, I think it's the wrong phrasing. I think what you want to do is ask them what they want. Now, the problem with asking people what they want is you're kind of an implied promise there.
Exactly.
So you have to phrase it in a way to elicit that information without asking that specific. You've got, apparently from the data you've already got levels of satisfaction with certain activities. I guess I have not seen the research that's been done in the last couple of years. But this is why you do the surveys and why you do the focus groups too. I think focus groups are really valuable. But you need to ferret out. First of all, why do people live here? Why do you live here? What's important to you here? Not whether I get although it is important to me, they get my branches picked up on Monday morning, but you don't ask about specific services because that's just too in the weeds. You want to have a broader idea of what people believe in this village and what they want why they live here, and understand that. So you can create a value statement from that about who we are, what we value, and then from there you can begin to build priorities. And priorities are big things. We're not talking about, we're gonna make sure the grass is cut in the fairways on the golf course. We're talking about huge things like that are gonna move the association, the community forward. For example, we're gonna take over the country club, and we're gonna turn it into condominiums. Okay, that's a big thing. It's not gonna happen, but that's a priority. Okay, it works at that high level. It's not, what's gonna happen, we're gonna make sure the streets are plowed. Anything that says we're gonna continue to do this. Or we're going to, even improve this, is not what you wanna be hearing. You wanna have priorities that drive this organization or this community into the future, whatever they may be. For example, when I was on the board, there were some people who were kind of muttering about, we should fence off the entire village. Well, that would be a priority.
Is it reasonable to expect then, there's different ways of defining what a strategic plan is.
Yes.
What I'm expecting, and tell me if this is unrealistic, it's going to be our list of priorities, what we want to do, how we're going to accomplish them, and measurable, make them, it gives,
You want 3 priorities for the most. My business partner worked with a company out of Kenosha. You may have heard of them. I won't name them. They had 27 priorities. That means you don't have any priorities. You want 3 or 4 priorities. Then you want goals underneath those. There may be multiple goals under each priority. And then you want objectives, then you want action steps. You're gonna work on the priorities. This board is gonna decide what the priorities are.
will we have or in your planning process or experience, will we have, when we get down to the action steps, will we have the where, the when, the how much, and how to measure success?
I'm proposing.
I want measurables.
You know what SMART goal is?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm going for. I hate acronyms, but
Yep.
that's a good one.
Specific
smart ones are-
Specific, measurable, achievable, results-based, time bound. In other words, we're not gonna save the world. We're gonna do the following, that's gonna save the world, but we're not gonna save the world.
Or if we are, we're gonna know exactly how much it's gonna cost. So
Right,
we're
and
gonna
when's
say
they have it
why.
done.
Yeah. Thanks.
Clearly, one of the things we'll have to do early on is set some terms and define them. Because the other thing that strategic plans have, as George knows, depending on which book you read or which practitioner you follow, there's all of different terms. And so we need to come together first as a core team to suggest, here's our terms, so we can all be speaking the same language and come to you with that.
I'll tell you a story, as you know, I tell stories. I got hired to basically kill a strategic planning process. And I did it by changing the definitions. Confused the hell out of people and just gave up. But that was my job. So you have to re-end the definitions, and you have to stick with the definitions. Because Mark is absolutely right. Every book you read has a different set of definitions about what certain words mean, have different sets of words. And if you don't agree on that up front, you're gonna be in trouble.
You're not really hired to kill this one, are you?
No, just the opposite.
He's a volunteer.
And,
Motion to approve.
So,
Go ahead.
well,
There'd be discussion anyway.
so how are we paying for this? Just, did we figure that one?
It would have to come from infrastructure reserve funds.
Okay, so we've got,
$1,400,000.
Yeah.
alright, okay. So,
We got a motion,
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, George.
We'll be in touch real soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Discuss and take action on ordinance 2025-04, repeal and recreate chapter 226 floodplain zoning.
Take that, Mark.
Sure. Every so often, the state adapts their model and does something with the floodplain maps in our county. And they've done it again. The DNR has designated a number of flood fringe areas, including those around Lake Mendota, duly designated them as flood storage areas. Significance of that, and here's where the science begins, is that if they're designated as flood storage areas, the I'm gonna bumble this up for sure. the idea in a flood storage area is you cannot, increase the flood elevation. So in creating the model, the state is, depending on those flood storage areas to actually keep floodwaters during the flood event. If they can't depend on them, in other words, people are building houses in them or parking lots, then that priority is, vanquished. So long and the short of it is the state has required all the villages and cities in Dade County to update their floodplain ordinance. We've had floodplain regulations under chapter 226 for a number of years. There are not significant changes to the ordinance. There are not changes to what land is and is not in the floodplain. In Maple Bluff, it's Lake Mendota based. It affects a few properties significantly. It affects many properties 5 or 10 feet right along the lake shore. I'm happy to answer questions on the ordinance itself. We did work with DNR staff to try to make their model make sense for Maple Bluff as much as practical, but if we want to maintain flood insurance capabilities for residents, the village has to adopt this updated ordinance.
By the way, it was a surprise to me. I don't know if it was a surprise to a lot of other people. We found out through this exercise that I'd formerly thought that only people who own property within a floodplain or a flood storage area were eligible or required to have national floodplain insurance or take part in the national flood insurance program. In fact, anybody who lives in a community that is a participant in that program, which most communities are, including ours, every resident is eligible to buy insurance from the federal government. In some cases, it can be quite a bit cheaper than private insurance. So if it's anything residents are thinking about, if they don't have it, they should know it and check that out.
So how would this affect? I'm sorry, I'm trying to find a map where it's Maple Bluff based here, but how would this affect somebody who wanted to maybe make an addition on their house that could be in this new area then? I mean, would that be something that they couldn't do it?
The area hasn't changed.
Okay,
The strictness of what you could do in that area has changed. You couldn't build an addition into the floodplain either way.
anyway, so
Yeah.
it doesn't change any of
And
that.
no, and there are literally a handful of properties
Uh-huh.
where the floodplain extends into the buildable area a lot.
Okay, all right.
So it's,
I
Like,
think we counted
Maybe.
4.
yeah,
Okay.
Something was the plan commission.
Okay.
And then we also learned there's nothing we can do to change any of this.
So what are we talking about?
We asked Mark a lot of questions.
Okay, all right.
There's and somewhere in here, you talk about how you tried to get, you asked for additional changes from the DNR, but they rejected them.
yes.
What were some of those?
Oh, they had undefined terms that we wanted to create definitions that made sense to us, and they didn't buy into it because some federal rule didn't say, they said they couldn't. So minutia,
Okay.
that will probably not matter, but we ended up tipping at windmills on a few things like that.
Did we develop a communication to the affected property owners?
Not at this point. We
Okay.
will
But we will do that.
from tonight.
Yeah, we're gonna try to find those 4, whatever it is, if it's
Yeah.
3, if it's 5 owners that floodplain affects their buildable area, and let them know that they're affected.
So it doesn't change the area that's in the floodplain, but it puts on additional restrictions.
Yeah, it basically limits or it eliminates the ability to do anything significant in the way of adding a pervious surface.
Like, yeah, so if you want a little basketball court or something. that we could do that.
Yeah, those, whatever, those.
Well, the property that's most affected is, I mean, that has the largest amount of area that's on the map, I believe, is the marina.
Yes,
So we can't add additional paved surface to that area.
I don't know if it's additional paved surface or not, but anything that
It has
changes
to-
the elevation.
if you show, that's exactly right. So if there's a project or proposal that would add impervious surface, it would set a basically a little study motion saying, well, is this going to increase the flood elevation for the basin at all? And if the answer is yes, then the project isn't allowed. So I'm using kind of shorthand. My guess is that 4-foot sidewalk running 6 feet is going to show a measurable increase, but a large sport court right in the middle of of a floodplain area might.
I'll just echo Jim's comment that, about flood insurance and, what my business, we like to say, everybody lives in a floodplain. If you get an extreme rain event, it can affect anyone, so.
Is they learned in
If I live in a floodplain, Noah's Ark is coming. Yeah.
Noah's Ark can come.
Flood insurance really expensive too.
It is.
It's really not, if you look at national NFIP insurance and if you're not in a floodplain and you're in a low hazard area. And then you can get insured. You don't have to insure the entire value of your home. You can just say, I want to insure like my basement. Like, what would it take to redo my basement?
It's
Yeah,
really
right,
easy to
you're
find
right.
out. I went online in 5 minutes, I don't even think it took that long. Entered my address, what deductible I wanted, but I think it was like, I could have gotten a reasonable $300,000 worth of coverage with. I can't remember what the deductible was. Maybe it was 5,000 for. Said $800 for a year.
Yeah, and you can go low. So let's say you just wanted 100,000 for a structure and 50,000 for the contents. So that would, like, if your basement got flooded and you have a finished basement and you need to redo it, cover most of that. $500, $400 or $500.
You have flood insurance?
I got an estimate
Okay.
after Milwaukee, after this Milwaukee one, I got an estimate because I saw what happens.
Does that include if your sump pump,
So with normal,
fails?
with most homeowners insurance, you can get a sump pump failure and a sewer backup. Right, so everybody should have that. But what's interesting is that what happened in Milwaukee, FEMA is defining it as sewer backup, but homeowners insurance is not defining it as sewer backup, so. A lot of all those homeowners, even the ones with sewer backup riders they're out a lot.
If they have flood insurance, are they screwed too? Because FEMA defines it as a sewer backup and not a flood.
No, I don't think so. That's, well, I don't, that would be an interesting question. That would be a catch 22, I guess, wouldn't it?
Yes.
But, no, and the thing is that people that want, they say, oh, FEMA's gonna come and help. The average FEMA payout after, for individual assistance is $5,000. So. That doesn't go very far.
It wouldn't replace the carpeting. Move to approve the
Second.
resolution.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discuss and take action on ordinance 2025-05, changes to various section in chapter 225 zoning.
Mark, I'd like you to explain that as well.
We didn't think we'd be back this quickly with some patch ups to the zoning code, but we are. There was or still is a rules that was established as of June 12th that said to the effect that if you're building a new home or adding substantially to an existing home, it needs to be with 50% of the floor areas. I'm using loose terms intentionally of the floor areas of surrounding buildings, and we had a definition of which buildings we count. Unfortunately, it was written badly by me, such that the calculation was impossible to make. And so we knew we need to fix it in some way, shape, or form to have a workable strategy. as the plan commission met, I think ultimately 3 times to decide what to do with it. The general idea was to limit its application to very few situations. And those situations would be, for example, I own a particular lot and with a house on it. I want to buy my neighbor's lot with a house on it. I want to combine those 2 lots and knock down the 2 houses and build a new house. That situation would invoke this 150% rule. That's more specifically written now in the code, and I can get into the details of that. Other situations, I own the same lot, I just want to knock down the house that's on it and build a new house. It would not apply to that particular situation. I have a vacant lot, I want to build a new house, it would not apply. I have a small house, I want to make it a bigger house, it wouldn't apply. Again, it would only apply in the very limited cases where someone's basically from now forward accumulating lots to try to build something bigger.
And it also doesn't, the comparable is no longer floor area, it is
Footprints.
footprint.
Thank you, Jim.
So we thought that was a better way, because ultimately we're concerned about massing.
What was the
and
specific instance that caused you to revisit it?
Revisit,
Did it come up?
yeah, it came up,
Came
in,
up like at the first meeting, right after this was,
and
yeah.
we realized that it was
It's just written in a way that's
very cumbersome, and
Honestly, I would love to just get rid of this altogether.
that is another option.
why?
Because I think there's gonna be issues. I don't know, I foresee there being problems with even this wording, and it was such a disaster having this in the first place that, I just don't feel like it's necessary. I mean, I get that you want measurable standards, but there's so many different scenarios in the village and different lot sizes and shapes and everything else. Like, I think it's virtually impossible to put a one size fits all thing on this. And I am not in favor of it. I just want to get rid of this verbiage altogether, because I think it's gonna create more issues.
Well, like Mark said, this went through the plan commission 2 or 3 times. In addition to the original thing down there, it passed unanimously. The plan commission unanimously recommends that the village board approve this resolution and change to the code, and I'd like to make the motion that we do so.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
The only thing I wanna say is, we'll probably be back here again, because there are probably other little, but as we live with this.
That's right.
There's holes.
Every time one comes up, you know.
Mhm.
Discuss and take action on recommendation from Plan Commission to revisit and refine North Sherman Avenue streetscape design and the gateway plan and move forward with budgeting and preliminary design.
So this year I assumed the chairmanship of the Public Works Committee. And one of the things that Tom reminded me of was that we were going to need to resurface Sherman Avenue sometime in the next 2 to 3 years. We had been approached by the city a couple of years ago. We weren't ready to do anything with them. Just to refresh your memories, the section of Sherman Avenue from Commercial down to Fordham, half of it is city, half of it is others. So that part of the project we'll do in conjunction with the city. But in 2017, we also passed the Gateway Plan as an addendum to our comprehensive plan. And part of the Gateway Plan was specific streetscape improvements to our section of Sherman Avenue that we owned from Oxford down to Commercial. And we discussed it in Public Works. I thought since the comprehensive plan and the gateway plan were ultimately a plan commission exercise, in addition to the TID committee did a lot of work on it too, that we go back to the plan commission and say, do we still like this conceptually? And do we want to recommend to the village that we at least get some numbers to figure out what it would cost to do this? Doing any type of streetscape improvements, whether we just repave or whether we do some or all of these parts of this concept, is a 2-year process. The first year is estimates, engineering, that type of thing. The second year, in the best case scenario, is when it actually gets done. So that's why we're talking about it now. The planning commission met, they agree, as you have in your packets, I believe, concepts 3 or C in the original gateway plan. They basically affirm that, understanding there will be some tweaks and discussion on it. But we just want to get it in the budgeting cycle so that we can take next steps. I talked to Mark a little bit about this, what next steps should be. And basically, it'll probably be something that's overseen by Public Works, but we're certainly gonna need Mark's help. At least on one thing, we're gonna need to have some type of community engagement when we start narrowing down specifically what options we want to exercise. In the engineering thing. I don't know if we actually need Mark's help on that, but we're going to need some type of town hall and some type of reach out. To let people know what we're proposing. Because probably the most potentially controversial thing is that all the concepts involve getting rid of the twiddle, which is the center turn line.
In some areas,
Huh?
in most areas.
I mean, you'd still
From
have it,
Oxford down to Commercial.
but you'd still have it like at the intersection.
Right.
Which is where you need it.
Right.
Um,
And you might have it other places too, but there wouldn't be 3 lanes clear, there would be some type of medians. Or possibly, that's what we have to research, but we just want to make sure that we've got basically the money in the budget for town and country. To put together drawings as we do it, so we know what things are gonna cost.
I like the idea, I really do, I like the idea of landscape median, it will increase maintenance, right? That's something to look at from public works standpoint.
Yeah, we can't do
Cause
that.
all that landscaping will have to be maintained, so that's something to take into consideration as well.
Is this something that needs to be kicked back into this overall strategic planning process?
No, I would consider this operational.
Okay. So I think as much as it looks nice to have the median with gardens, there's no way that we could possibly pull it off. I mean, look at the beach park median, like that for Tom and his guys was too much. So, I mean, it looks nice, but I think that's not to me, it's not a feasible plan to have the little garden areas. Yes, George.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Have you taken into consideration these 600 and some apartments that are gonna be over here with the 800 cars? They're now traversing this area potentially.
One of the goals of the gateway plan, and I think you weren't on the board when we did the gateway plan, but in between
I read
times
it.
there were, was to slow traffic and actually discourage through traffic on our stretch of Sherman. So if we still agree with that objective, all the more reason to put those in there.
Right, you wanna funnel the traffic out to Packers, the through traffic.
Yeah,
Make it work.
I mean, I still remember our little field trip that we took when we walked down Sherman Avenue and how crazy it was, people driving back and forth and thinking about people riding in the bike lanes even, and how close proximity the cars are. I think that's something we should consider as somehow figuring that out a little bit better,
Well,
so you can have easier bike traffic without it being scary, but
well, the part of, I think in two out of the three concepts, and the third concept was basically a meld of the first two. Some things were eliminated, on-street parking was eliminated in that area of Sherman Avenue. But I believe both of them involved expanding the bike lanes. Right now, I believe the bike lanes are 3 feet wide, and the plan would be to make them 5 feet wide.
As long as a car can't fit.
Well,
You
there's two
know,
things.
I
We
mean,
want,
that's the problem, right? Everybody's seeing
Well, we-
cars racing through the twiddle like down Sherman Avenue.
yeah, we don't want people to use that bike lane as a passing lane, but we do want to create also some space for garbage pickup. For people to back out for kind of a safety zone. So there's, but it's, you know, it's we have to kind of look back at it. It was, I think you approved it. I think I know I approved it in 2016 or 17. But at that time, it was pie in the sky. You know, we knew we weren't gonna do anything for probably 10 years. All the clock is ticked and.
I mean, what makes bike lanes scary is the speed of the cars, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, I bike in Sherman, actually, I bike to work, not every day, just when it's nice out. But it's and people typically slow down, but if the more sort of, the more curbs and landscaping, the slower the cars are gonna go, and I think the less scary it is for bikes. It's when cars are speeding past you at 40 miles an hour, that's when it's scary.
The other thing that was very popular when we were evaluating the gateway plan and the streetscapes ones, that all the concepts talked about creating more of a sense of entrances at either end of that 2 or 3 block corridor. So that when people drive into Maple Bluff, they'll see and read and feel a change.
Feel like it's.
Yeah. So anyway, the plan commission unanimously recommends that we revisit and refine the Sherman Avenue streetscape design and the gateway plan and move forward with budgeting and preliminary design. So I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
My only question on this is kind of why now?
Because we've got to do within 2 years, we're gonna be resurfacing. Not so we should do everything at the same time, just for efficiency costs. If we decide that we're just gonna,
No, I'm not opposed to it.
yeah, you know,
I'm like looking
that's
at,
why now.
I want to focus on strategic plan. And I don't want to get distracted on something else is my only comment.
Well, the street has to get resurfaced.
This
And we might as well do it all at the same time.
would this be like a capital?
Yeah.
To borrow or?
Well, remember too, this will get paid for ultimately, we probably issue bonds to finance it, but ultimately it can be paid for out of TID fund. Sarah ran some numbers and just at present developments. Lakewood 2 and the Gordon, we will generate, was it 2.2 million in the remaining life of the TID? So that will, no matter what we do, that'll be a significant portion of the cost.
The other thing, Kevin, is so where we started having a plan commission was the discussion of whether or not to take what had been approved, I guess, in 2016 as the
Right.
recommendation. And none of us felt that we could do that 10 years, almost 10 years later, because things have changed so much.
Mhm.
So that's how we ended up with this language as a compromise.
Okay.
Is at least just looking at it instead of taking what is already on the books and saying this is what the plan should be for this and saying that's what we need to move forward with. None of us felt comfortable with that.
So it could evolve into something significantly different with engineering, with public input.
Right. Because one of the things we haven't even talked about is how it affects all the homeowners on Sherman Avenue if they don't have a lane to pull their car out in. Like, how are they gonna back out of their driveways and cross the street? And then it eliminates the ability to have a turn lane into the mall, which in 2016 wasn't as busy as it is now.
It's true.
And when the tattoo shop opens up, look out,
When? When?
we've got a CUP that we're gonna be considering.
Let's have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I,
Discuss and take action on resolution 2025 05 Dane County Urban County Consortium and Cooperation Agreement.
So we were notified by the Dane County Urban County Consortium that they are required to get new resolutions and agreements from all municipalities who participate in this program. If you remember, a couple of years ago, the village opted into this program at the request of a resident who was looking to get home funds to help them replace the roof on their home. And currently, all municipalities in Dane County participate in this program, and so we're just looking for an updated resolution and agreement to continue to make our residents eligible for home funds.
And it doesn't change anything. Yeah, is there, move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Committee reports, building board.
We had. Some windows, driveway expansion, patio. Total remodel of a house on Newcastle, which looks really nice. And then a schematic design approval for the 507 Farwell Drive tear down.
Remind me, 507 again?
The little red ranch house that's on Farwell Lakeside.
Just to the left of Bob Dones.
As you're going, yeah, right, the other side of Alati. That is it.
Country Club Committee,
Has not met.
I think they're ready for they've done a big plan, right? And they're about a month out, maybe.
Yeah, I talked to Jason about it 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and he said any day.
Okay,
So hopefully it's coming soon.
be good to have them present to all of us.
Yes, and I put that request into him and I said we would want to meet, and so I have, there was a pin in that we all need an update.
Thank you. Finance and accounts has not met, fire and EMS.
We met on August 20th. We had the continued discussion on EMS billing. We tabled the discussion about a draft of policy for collections on delinquent bills. We're pending some updating of draft that Interim Chief Drager is gonna be working on, so we'll plan on reviewing that next meeting. We discussed the fire chief transition and the study that you had asked for, with some discussion on that. Just the meeting.
Ordinance Committee,
Have not met. We are talking about.
we were talking about that.
But we have not met. And some things may be coming down the pike, so.
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec, we have a couple of things, that we discussed. I know we discussed the Marina Park, which I think is
Did
kind
you
of,
see my email?
I did. I think it's not moving forward.
Well, my ambitions to increase in-water storage spaces
Mhm.
is not going anywhere. I got first a soft no from the DNR, and then I asked more and I got a harder no.
Yeah,
And they were thank God they didn't make us go through the whole permit application process and expense, so.
Mhm.
There's a good person there, so I copied Sarah and Tanner and Lily and Darcy. But I also asked to be put in the Marina file, so next time somebody decides to tilt against that windmill, they've got a name at the DNR, and at least what their logic was. To deny that.
What was the?
Two things is, so the way that they calculate how much in-water space you can have, at least since 2012, I believe it is you get 2 in-water slips for the first 50 feet of shoreline you own, 1 additional slip for for each additional 50 feet. If we were trying to build out our marina now, we've got what, 200 feet of shoreline? So you can do the
So
math.
we're already.
We've got 32 spaces in there, and those are all grandfathered in. They cannot take those away. They've acknowledged that,
Should have added
but we're
more.
lucky
Yeah.
that, yeah, exactly.
Quietly back.
We should have started out there. And thank God that we added as many as we did in the past. We also got some clarity on what we could do, because I think sometime in the next couple of years, we're gonna have to replace some or all of the peer platforms
Mhm.
and maybe other parts of it on what we can do in terms of configure, non-configure, and that was actually more liberal than I thought they'd allow. But we've got a contact now at DNR. She knows our situation. Oh, the other reason that they said is that corner of the lake is, or that side of the lake, whole Warner Bay is important bluegill spawning area, those sandy beaches. Can't fight the bluegill. So, yeah, so that's what that is.
And then I think in addition, the sailing club wants to maybe try to do some improvements down there too, right? So that was kind of something that we had discussed. The next one is, the camera systems in the park. So we were made aware that, the camera system at the beach park is not functioning anymore. It's been out for a while. And the marina park, does work, but it's an old kind of antiquated system. So we just discussed about if we were going to make any improvements, we want to make sure that it's tied into the system that we already have in place here at the village, so that everybody can kind of talk to each other. I think it also went on to a larger discussion about cameras throughout the village, in public spaces, in other parks, things like that. So I don't know if that was something that, I know we definitely want to move forward and fix the existing camera systems. I think that's really important. And then how we want to move forward with everything else. I think it's obviously a wider discussion.
Thank you.
And I think that's kind of it. So,
Personnel committee has not met, but we're going to twice, 15th and 23rd.
Yeah.
Land commission,
We met, you guys heard what we met about. We have a meeting coming up. We've got a CUP, conditional use permit application for a tattoo shop in, where the, martial arts studio is. Next to Vic Pierce.
isn't there one just around the corner right there?
Yeah, that's not in Maple Bluff though.
Yeah,
It's just
but for you,
Across the
like,
street,
yeah.
right.
I got some awesome uses there. Police committee,
That's not bad.
public works,
Has not met since our last meeting, or have we? No, we have not.
urban forestry.
Urban forestry, we did make some decisions on the, cottonwoods. So, taking one down and then the other one is on private property. So we're gonna have some discussions or reach out to the homeowner to see if maybe they can do it in tandem. I don't know if there's any cost savings with that, but, they need to bring in special equipment. Things like
Did MG&E offer any freebies on either or both of the trees?
Where are they located? Where are the trees located?
Just block of Fifth,
Mhm.
both sides.
Okay, both of those are gonna know. Are they,
Well, one is in right away and one's on right.
okay. Are they, do they have problems?
Well, when they drop branches, they're limbs.
Yeah.
And then
And we've had a lot of problems along Fisk.
one on the side. Definitely. Sigged and near the homes right there.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey there. Hey there. Paula Cooper. We were, Craig is on mute, is putting the, okay. We were unavailable for that meeting because we weren't notified about it. and didn't have an opportunity to weigh in on like, heavily biased rights of way and certain other issues that affect the private property issue of the tree. So we would like, unfortunately, I think, I mean, and I was going to weigh in the beginning of the meeting and just say, hey, it would be awesome if you guys could give some fundamental training on transparency so that you don't have to recreate the wheel when there's new trustees, but that's a thing that you can plan on in the future. But we would like a more official opportunity to weigh in on the business of the Cottonwoods than communicating via, email with the staff.
Paul, is this tree on your property?
Yes, but I did contact, I did make an inquiry about what was referred to as a heavily biased way on the south end. And that right of way pushes the tree onto our property. And it's not something that I have heard from Tanner and Sarah about yet, but the commissioned survey, the village commission survey that was done at the time when they were considering taking it down the first time, places the right of way well into the Stevenson's property across the street, and pulls it away from our property. And I think there's just some room for discussion there regarding if you're going to be taking down the tree across the street and the burden. I know that there was some discussion of everybody wants like the village to take their trees down, but this is really seriously, the right of way is across the street. And all of the utilities are on this side of the street. So there's not even, I'm not understanding the argument for the right of way being so southerly biased. And I'd like to have another meeting. I wish I would have been there at the last one, but there was a miscommunication there. So
Was there a miscommunication or was the meeting properly noticed?
we had
I'm asking
property,
staff. I'm asking staff. I'm asking staff.
excuse me,
Paula, excuse me, I'm just asking staff if the meeting was properly noticed.
Yes, it was.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, it was put on the agenda at the end, it was put on the calendar at the end of the month, well after the letter.
No,
went
he
out.
chose not to go to the meeting. The meeting was properly noticed.
No, I didn't choose not
Question
to
has
go.
been
Wait,
asked and answered. The
Kevin,
meeting is, the tree is on private property.
Kevin,
Not
please,
interested in talking about it further.
Kevin, please just let me speak. The meeting was noticed well after the newsletter went out. Because our private property was on the agenda, Tanner called me up and apologized for our not having been notified of the meeting at length. So I didn't choose not to go to any meeting. I had no idea there was a meeting. I would certainly have been there. You know me, I'm always at the meeting. So no, this was not a choice. It was a new person setting up a meeting who was not trained about transparency. It's like a learning curve. We can move on from that part of it, but please do not characterize me as not having chosen to be there. And the notice was late in the month and not on the normal newsletter. It was put on the calendar well after the.
I don't know why we're further discussing a tree on private property.
Because I think that
doesn't cut down trees on private property, so I'm not interested in talking about it further. I don't.
Well, that's interesting,
Not
Kevin,
interested
but I
in
would
further
like,
discussion about it. And I
Kevin?
don't think it's appropriate to talk about it further.
Well, that's interesting, but you are a government entity. We were not notified and sorry, you're gonna just have to talk about it. There are rights of way issues. There are a lot of issues. So sorry. I mean, I can.
So, Tom, what are the issues?
The issue,
Paula, could I just get Tom to tell us what the issues are?
The health of the trees.
No, with
private property.
Is just described a bias to the south. The right of way is deep on the south properties
Okay,
and shallow to the north.
What would explain that?
Fisk has some really,
Weird stuff.
the way the right of way goes past 102 and then for the parking lot for the country club is way up into the yards.
Is that because the road was put in different spots than?
Platted different.
How are, Mark, I don't know if you know this, or Tanner, if you know this, how are right of ways established? Can a village change a right of way? I'm not suggesting that we do, but
Right of ways are typically established by
By what?
subdivision plat, when the land was originally public, the right of way are, and then was typically up to the developer to build the streets and the other public improvements within the right of way. If you go to DeForest or Wanakee, that's how subdivision.
so the pathway, is it logical to assume that the pathway of Fisk has probably changed, but it's remained in the right of way?
Or someone had a vision that there would be a triangle or something other design that was on.
Maybe sidewalks on one side and not.
Street right of way can be vacated by action of a village board. There's a statutory process to do that.
And so this isn't a debate about whether the trees come down, but who pays for it?
Well, it's a debate about the fairness of the burden of maintenance, given the extreme quality of this right of way. I mean, it's not a matter of a little bit. The right of way goes well into the Stevensons and pushes private property onto our land on which there are power poles. I mean, obviously there was some planning done. And I'm not trying to get like, ooh, it's like, oh, get a free tree taken down. But if you look at aerial photos from 1937, if you look at where the power poles are, if you look at where the right of way is on the survey that the village had performed, you see that it pushes the right of way is well away from the center of the road on a southerly bias. And there are issues of like the fairness of the burden of maintenance, and also the obvious point that the power poles were put in on what is private property, even though I know you guys have an easement that's like forever long, but it isn't really like, oh, it's just 1 inch off or something like that. It's quite well into the southerly side of the street. And I think it bears like further discussion for a meeting that, yes, it may well have been posted, but we were not made, we asked for the meeting. We requested it.
you
and we
take
were
it up
not
at the
told
next
that it was
urban forestry
planned.
meeting.
Sure.
All right, we're gonna have another urban forestry committee meeting. Just so we can talk about this topic, and we'll make sure it's properly noticed and you're aware of it.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Kevin.
Thank you. Zoning Board of Appeals has not met, Board of Health has not met. Reports, Village President. I'm excited to start our strategic plan, and very thankful again to Mark and George. We're all gonna have to dig in for the next 6 months. When I hear spring, I think May.
Yeah. That's the goal.
And I think it'll be a challenge to keep us on track. So, but I'm confident you two will be able to do that. So, thank you. Sarah.
My report and the financials are in the packet. The levy limit worksheet was released 2 days ago. Our net new construction is 1.02%, which means we'll be able to increase the levy about $24,000 for 2026. I have contacted Lake Ridge Bank and they're starting the paperwork for the $484,000 loan for the fire truck payment that was approved at the last board meeting. And Jim already mentioned that we have a CUP application for the tattoo business. And we're scheduling a public hearing for that. Mark, I don't think they had any signage in their application, so just,
No, they don't. That's,
we walked past today and it's the Felly's flower sign upside down and backwards that's showing on the front of the building now.
So just as a reminder, they do, if we choose, we can make them comply with our new signing ordinance.
well, we shouldn't probably have the meeting here, but we may be able to do that.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Is there any high level concerns about a tattoo parlor?
We should probably
Not talk
discuss
about
that.
it?
Yeah,
All right,
I mean, that's the reason, that's the whole
yeah,
point of
I
this
got it, yeah,
meeting.
thank you. Public Works,
You have my report. The water meter endpoints installation continues. And I'm holding out that we can still get it finished by the end of the year. We're gonna have to get a lot of people to respond though.
was it Mark helping on that? You helping on that? How's staff?
It's done.
How's staff?
We're doing well. Paul and Nick are. You know, they're the endpoints for those installations. It'll be good to get them back with the rest of the crew after the first of the year.
Thank you for prioritizing that, Tom.
I've let Paul just sit at his desk and do his mastermind. A point on North Sherman. That surface was laid down in 1992, so it's if you get 30 years out of a street, you're doing well. So yeah, it's time. We're doing a lot of equipment maintenance. We're prepping for the next 2 seasons, leaves, and then winter.
Ready for snow?
The plows sit at the road.
Thank you, Tom. Mark?
Yeah, included my report in the packet here as well. Just some highlights to bring up. We still have 2 more events here to wrap up with the Halloween parade next month, and then the holiday tree lighting at the end of November here as well. And also been busy working on the 2026 event dates, which I brought up at the Parks and Rec Committee meeting. So setting those and beginning to try to fill out some of the concerts in the parks. Bands, as I get those inquiries as they've been coming in here, actually started last month in August, so there's been a lot of interest, so the word's kind of spread. So on that front, a few other updates, just as Tom had mentioned, the transition with fall, just with some of our programming, been working with Public Works with regards to what needs to transition within our park facilities and properties on that route. We did want to make notes in there, Johnson Park and Stoddard Park. I don't know if any of you guys have been out this park. There are a couple sinkholes. Those have been marked and identified, and Tom's crew will be prepping to fill those in there as well. But just wanted to give you awareness in case there was anybody that reached out questioning what those markers were in both those facilities.
Was there a concern with either of those? Is there a pipe leaking or something underneath?
Well, they buried a lot of things when they tore down the school.
Okay, so one's the school, what about the other one?
Well, school frames, but they also had storm pipe in it.
Ah,
And it's probably leaching into, and it's been going on for 34 years.
No residents have disappeared.
I'm just thinking about it more from an expense perspective of it. Dealing with sinkholes is not cheap.
Well, these are rather small.
Okay.
I mean,
These are Florida style sinkholes.
They're not that size, size on it, but just in case, 'cause I know the ones John's Park, we got cones around, but the one at Stoddard Park is very small, I mean, they're like a 4x4, but it's on the corner. And it's right next to the sign, so that's out there, so it's kind of like Mark's, you can kind of see it right now, so I just wanted to bring awareness to it.
and that was what was left of a root system of a really large tree. Both have been compacted and filled.
Yeah, so that fall program is underway. I have the financials listed down there. IT, we just completed a decent upgrade for the computer, especially with our security fob system here in the village. So it was a lengthy process, but we got that wrapped up pretty this week. So that recaps my side.
Chief Drager.
Good evening, everybody. You have my report in your packet. Just a quick overview, a lot of training going on, paid on call recruitment. We actually just hired 5 new personnel last month. Most of them with certifications already. It's hard what we'll need that's relevant, fire EMS certifications. And we have an additional 2 people who are going to be onboarding here in the next month, going through our hiring process right now. Next month, we're going to be doing some training with Madison College, doing car fire training and also doing live fire training. Our goal is always to give people 2 fire trainings every year, live fire trainings. This year, they're going to get 4 opportunities. So our goal is to double that every year so that they're doing it more frequently. Lastly, a couple financial opportunities here. We are applying again for the financial assistance program through the state of Wisconsin through the Department of Health. Last year, we were awarded just over $18,000 for it. We applied for that again. Probably will not hear until October and November if we're going to get that. Last year, of the 18,000 we were awarded, we rolled over, escrowed 14,000 of it just for future expenditures that we may need it for. And also some FEMA grants coming up that'll be through the state that we're going to be applying for, as well as AFG grants through the National Fire Service. And we will have a car seat check that we're going to be pushing out again on social media. If somebody needs a car seat installed or they want theirs checked by certified technicians on Wednesday, September 17th, we will have certified technicians at our station doing that for 3 hours. That is all I have.
Thank you. Tanner?
My report is in your packet, and please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Most of the substantive matters that have been the focus of our attention have either been talked about already tonight or will be talked about in closed session in the next agenda item.
Thank you. Discuss and take action on the claims list.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Move into closed session as permitted by Wisconsin statute section 19.851C to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of public employees over which the governmental body has jurisdiction to discuss LTE programming and event support specialist, LTE resident, services specialist, port clerk, and fire chief.
Can I get a motion to go into closed session?
Move to go into closed session.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyway.